Here's a dilemma that nearly every professional faces, probably every professional. Compared to 99.9% of the population out there, you're an expert at what you do. You're an absolute expert at what you do. I run across this in AmSpirit Business Connections all the time. These groups are made up of one person in each professional category, one attorney, one accountant, one so on and so forth, everything, realtor. And I tell the people in there, don't couch your words. Don't pretend like, you like other people know as much as you do, because they don't. If you're the accountant and you're one of these groups, nobody's sitting around there knows as much as you, especially if you're a CPA. You've got a CPA, nobody can touch you when it comes to accounting and tax matters. Nobody. So you need to play that part. So you're an expert at what you do, and you want the world to know this and believe this about you, that you're the expert. But here's the problem. The only way that people are going to know about your expertise and how wonderful you are, short of hiring you and experiencing it for themselves, is to have somebody else share about you, somebody else to sing your praises, or for you to talk about yourself, be boastful. I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm the expert. But here's the problem, is that if you're going to be waiting for somebody to share your praises, if you will, if you're going to be waiting for somebody to share your praises, you might be waiting a long time. People are generally looking for somebody to promote them and not necessarily out to promote you. Certainly you can ask people, but I mean, to organically try and get people to promote you, it just doesn't happen. It might happen here and there, but by and large, it doesn't happen. So that's an issue, getting other people to praise you. The other issue comes down to you praising yourself. And the problem with you praising yourself, letting people know, hey, I'm great, is that by saying you're great, you really sort of disqualify yourself. Think of it in this way. You go to that auto mechanic and the auto mechanic tells you hey, I'm honest. Well, what else is he going to say? He's honest. And at that point, you kind of are suspect, like, okay, why are you telling me you're honest? Is there some reason that you need to feel like you need to tell me you're honest? And so it kind of disqualifies himself or herself, I guess, if you have a woman auto mechanic. So it's the same sort of thing. If you're racing around telling people that you're an expert, boastfully telling you're an expert, you in time get annoying. But right from the outset, it's like, well, why is this person telling me they're the expert? Why do they feel the need to do this? So it really kind of creates a dilemma. So today, what we're going to do is we are going to delve into the whole notion of getting the word out about you. Getting the word out about you as being an expert, a subject matter expert in what it is that you do. And by so doing, you're not having to wait for other people to promote you, and you're not necessarily having to self-promote. Here, change slides. Just a little about myself. Since the mid-90s, I have been working to help entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals to become more successful. This all started when I went into the private practice of law. I started my career as a tax consultant. I got a law degree. I got an MBA from the Ohio State University. Here I am. I'm bragging about myself. Anyhow, got a law degree. Got an MBA from the Ohio State University. That led me into a job at a public accounting firm, one of the large public accounting firms, now PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I was a tax consultant. It was a great job working with large companies, large not-for-profits, helping them with their tax situations. I didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life. I left, went into private practice, figuring I would find something entrepreneurial eventually. And I struggled in private practice because they didn't know how to get clients. I grew up in I started in a world where the work was there. You just went to work and you just did the work. And the whole notion of networking and client acquisition never really came up. Didn't come up in law school, didn't come up in business school, didn't come up in working with the big firm. And so I struggled. And one day I had lunch with a friend of mine, and I asked her, I said, what do I need to do to be more successful, or to have the kind of success that she had? She had started her own firm. She said, get into a tips club or a leads group. And if you're not familiar, like an organization like a BNI or a LaTip. Well, there was an organization in town. It was based out of Pittsburgh. They had an opening for an attorney. It's one per category. Brand new chapter. I jumped at the opportunity, and I became that chapter's first president. I got onto a national advisory board. It really made sense to me how these things worked. You just help the other people around the room, and they will help you in return. At one point, I had an opportunity to become the first franchisee. Became very successful doing that, and had an opportunity to buy it all out, and that's what I did, rebranding it as Am Spirit Business Connections. And I stopped the practice of law. This was in the early 2000s. So for the better part of almost 12, I guess 20 years at this point, I've helped entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals become more successful through these groups, through networking, through business relationships, professional relationships, how to get referrals, so on and so forth. I have a couple of podcasts out there, the Networking RX and the Networking RX Minute. I've written a number of books on professional networking, and I do a lot of speaking on networking. So that's really my background and really what qualifies me to talk about the things we're going to talk about here today. Let's talk about two people, if you will. There are two people out there. There's Pushy Pete and there's Value Add Val. Now, we all know both these people in one form or another. They may not be named Val or Pete, but let's talk about Pushy Pete real quick. Pushy Pete's that person that when you run into him, they're always self-promoting. They're always talking about themselves. They're coming up to you. They're pitching, hey, you have a need for what I've got? You know, look, hey, do you have referrals for me? It's always them, bragging about themselves. Hey, we're great. You know, we did this. Did you see the mention of us in the paper? You know, I'm wonderful. Got, you know, great products, great prices, so on and so forth. That's Pushy Pete. Value Added Val takes a different approach. Value Added Val, when you run into Value Added Val, she wants to know about you. Hey, how's it going? How are your kids? How's business going? You know, were you able to do business with that referral I gave you? Because she's giving you referrals. You know, she's talking about introductions she's doing. Things aren't going well. She's encouraging to you. When things are going well, she's the first to celebrate. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Those are two types of people that are out there. Well, what do you do when you run into Pushy Pete? Or you think you might run into him? Let's say you're at a chamber function, you're at some sort of business after hours, and there's Pushy Pete. What do? You kind of don't make eye contact, you duck and you cover. Value Added Val, when you run into her, same event, what do? You smile, you can't wait to have an opportunity to talk to her. It's just a wonderful experience every time you're dealing with. Let me change my notes here. Every time you're dealing with her. And I want you to keep those two people in mind because it really plays into what's happening here, what we're going to be talking about here. Pushy Pete is somebody we avoid. Value Added Val is somebody we are really attracted to. And that's just a common theme with respect to networking. We are attracted to those who bring value to the world. So you want to be Value Added Val. Let me just change pages here. Let's talk about the story of the Trojan horse. This all dates back to 12 BCE. There was a 10-year war between the Greeks and the city of Troy. And the Greeks tried in vain to get into the city of Troy, and they couldn't. Eventually what they did was they boarded their ships and they sailed away. But they left behind a large Trojan wooden horse. And